What's up, guys? Theo here doing a prediction for Muhammad Naimov versus Erik Silva. So right now, Naimov is a minus 300 favorite, and the comeback on Erik Silva is plus 210 on DraftKings. Guys, I like Muhammad Naimov here. I feel like this is a fairly simple matchup, and I could actually see this line getting like steamed way up higher to like plus 400 something if people lay a lot of money on Naimov because kind of a really bad matchup for Erik Silva. I've watched a lot of tape on Erik Silva, and I watched a lot of tape on Naimov because I've studied both of these guys in the past. And Silva, I don't really honestly know what the deal is with him. I don't know anything about him, but what I do know is that he was supposedly like a really good striker. He did some good work in some regional promotions, and I believe he fought in LFA for a few fights right before he got into the UFC. I know that he knocked out an established LFA fighter in his pre-UFC fight. So I remember at the time there was a lot of hype about him and his striking ability. People thought he was going to do really good in the UFC. They kind of gave him a really easy matchup for his first UFC fight. And at the time, he was pretty old for a martial artist making their UFC debut. I believe he was like 34, 35, something like that. And he just got completely dominated by TJ Brown, who TJ Brown is a very low-level 50-50 UFC fighter. So he was basically completely neutralized by TJ Brown's somewhat lazy like MMA, wrestling, grappling, jiu-jitsu, whatever you want to call it. It really just didn't look like he had any answer for any kind of grappling whatsoever. If he did, he would have been able to kind of get out of some of those holds and transitions and whatnot that TJ Brown was putting on him. So for him to come into the UFC like that against a very low-level opponent and just get completely shut down and dominated and grappled like that, not be able to put anything together on the feet, it's just a really bad look, man. And I mean, you can't really teach an old dog new tricks. At this point, this guy is in that age range where he's kind of past the point where he's going to be improving a lot. He doesn't have the time to learn really good wrestling, really good jiu-jitsu or anything like that. So his path to victory is going to be on the feet. Like I said, I don't really know what this guy's pedigree is. I don't know if he was like some really good kickboxer or some dude that was like really good in the gym, but people seem to hype him up whenever he's about to fight. So he must have some good striking or something, but based on what I saw, I was never super impressed with his striking. I mean, he seems like a competent striker, but even thinking back to when I watched a lot of his regional tape, I never came away with some idea that he was going to do really well in the UFC or anything. And he's going up against Muhammad Naimov, who is pretty good. He's one of the few fighters fighting out of Tajikistan, so he has a really big following. I believe Royval is the other guy that fights out of there. Dude that looks like Khabib is pretty funny. But this guy, he was the underdog in the fight against Nathaniel Wood that happened recently. If you go back through my videos, I did a prediction video for that, and I said in that prediction video that Naimov was going to win that and that Nathaniel Wood was not this guy that everyone was making him out to be. And that's exactly what happened. Although it was a competitive fight, Naimov pretty much dominated that fight. And in my opinion, unless you think that there's some kind of gigantic striking difference between Nathaniel Wood and Erik Silva, like if for some reason you think that you have some conviction that Erik Silva's striking is like way better than what Nathaniel Wood can put together, which is, I would be pretty surprised based on the tape I've seen. I think Nathaniel Wood is probably better everywhere than Erik Silva is, and Naimov was just able to control that fight and win decisively. He has really, really physical grappling. He's got a lot of power, and he's got a great chin. He ate some point-blank heavy shots from Nathaniel Wood in that fight and backed up and then just kept fighting, kept going forward, kept picking up Nathaniel Wood, dumping him down, controlling him against the cage, against the floor. So he's got all of the tools here to beat Erik Silva. No doubt about that. I don't really know what Muhammad Naimov's grappling style is. I don't know if he's like a jiu-jitsu guy or a wrestling guy. I would imagine he's probably more of like a wrestler grappler than a jiu-jitsu player, just based on what part of the world he's coming out of. I don't really know what Tajikistan, what's big there, but I imagine wrestling is probably bigger than jiu-jitsu. And, I just don't, I don't see where you make the argument that Erik Silva wins this fight, other than I guess he's going to outstrike Naimov, but Naimov is got hands and a chin of his own, and he's not just going to sit there and stand and let Erik Silva stay on the feet the whole time, when we saw in Erik Silva's last fight that if you take him to the ground, he's out of options and he can't do anything. So give me Muhammad Naimov. This is a pretty, like I said, pretty straightforward matchup. I'd be pretty surprised to see Erik Silva win here. Probably won't bet on Naimov, but at minus 300, I honestly think there could be some value on him here. So don't be surprised if you see a unit, maybe 2 units, go up on Naimov in the Bet MMA tips. I'm going to sit and think about it for a little bit, but I do think this is a pretty obvious spot for him. So Naimov all the way, guys. Keep it locked in. More picks coming later this week.